Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, I'm gonna be making a Scream 6 video spoiler review. And, yeah, I'm gonna be doing it just straight up here in this video. And, yeah, I've been gone for like a while now, like a little bit over a week. And, I was planning on, talking about some, other movies and stuff on my channel. But I've just been trying to see Scream 6 for like a while now, and I haven't been able to. So that's why I've just never posted anything for like the longest time now. But now I finally did. So, I finally got to see Scream 6. So I'm going to be doing a spoiler review for Scream 6. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this video. Go see it first, and then you could come back and watch this video. But yeah, spoiler review for Scream 6. And yeah, we're pretty much just gonna be diving right into it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. And yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it. So my thoughts on Scream 6. It was great. It was great. I thought the movie was good, and I had a fun time with it. Just overall, I thought it was just very fun. And the opening scene, I want to talk about that. So Samara Weaving, who we see immediately in the opening, who was someone I predicted for being one of the opening kills. So when I saw her immediately on screen in the opening, I was like, yep, my prediction was right. I just knew she was dead. Yeah, that was, not really that surprising to me. But, she was like kind of like on this, she was like on this online dating app, and she was trying to meet someone. And, like she gets lured into like an alleyway, and she like gets a phone call and whatnot. Ghostface out of nowhere comes out, and he just starts stabbing her, which was just brutal. And just the way she was screaming too was just like, it just made it even more like just like kind of like just like more, I don't know, it kind of amped up the brutality, the brutalness of the knife. And that was just a simple knife kill too. But that was just kind of like, to show some of the, brutality that was different here just off the bat. And Scream 6, like he was just like stabbing her, and then, she dies. So Laura, she ends up dying. And Ghostface ends up taking off his mask after he kills her. And then, I was just like, wait, wait, what? I was just so shocked because like I just did not expect that. And I'm sure a lot of you were the same way. But yeah, like whenever Tony Revolori's character Jason took off the mask after killing Laura, which was Samara Weaving's character, I was just like, bro, no way. That was just so shocking. And then after that, he just ends up walking away like it's nothing. He puts the Ghostface outfit in his backpack, and he just walks away like normally, like it's nothing, living life. And, he goes back to his apartment. And it's almost like we're seeing the point of view of the killer, which was just super cool because that's just something we've never seen before. And, he goes back to his apartment, and he's watching Jason Takes Manhattan, a nod to Jason Voorhees, of course, and because the movie's in New York as well. So, yeah, a big nod there. And then Tony Revolori's character, Jason, gets a phone call. And, yeah, at that moment, I was just like, yo, wait, what? A Ghostface killer getting a phone call by a Ghostface killer? I was just like, yo. And then, Jason's character, he had a partner, Greg, that he was working with. And then he goes to the refrigerator. He opens up the fridge and sees his friend's dead body in there. And I was like, yo, like literally his body was just like in pieces in the fridge. And I was just like, yo, that that's just crazy. And then he's like just stabbing. Jason's character Ghostface is just stabbing him, gutting him, and like pretty much Jason's and his friends Greg's plan were to kind of like finish Richie's plan that he had of his movie that he wanted to create in Scream 5, and they knew about that, so they tried to like they kind of tried to finish Richie's plan. So I thought that was cool. And then Jason's character tells Ghostface like, what about the movies? And Ghostface is like, who gives a fuck about the movies? I'm just like, yo. And then that's when the opening finally ends, and I was just like, yo, that was a great opening. And yeah, the opening scene was to Scream 6 was great. And yeah, and then we get introduced to Henry Czerny and Sam's therapist, and Sam as well herself, which yeah, they end up talking, going back and forth. Sam is talking about her issues, and what her struggles, and how she killed Richie, and she kind of liked it. And then Henry Czerny's character, Christopher Stone, tells her like, hey, I'm not equipped for this, pretty much. And then she leaves. Ghostface randomly comes in, and after she leaves, pushes his face against the door, and then what's it called? He stabs him, Henry Czerny's character, in the nose with the knife. And I was just like, ugh, like just those kills right there was just like, just right there, right off the bat, you see how brutal these kills were. Like Scream 6 did not lie. They did not lie when they said this movie would have more brutal kills and whatnot, because it definitely did. And yeah, he ends up dying, which I honestly, I'm not really that surprised by that, because Henry Czerny, his character Dr. Christopher Stone, I did not expect him to be in the movie that much. I did throw out that theory at some point that he might be some mastermind, but I was kind of doubting it after a while. I was kind of like, I don't know, he might just have a small role. So, and he did have a small role, so yeah. But yeah, I felt like the core four, we get introduced to them at a frat party and all this. And I gotta say, man, the core four in this movie, pretty much Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad, they were all great, and were way better developed in this film in Scream 6 than in Scream 5. Because in Scream 5, even though I like that film, it did not do a good job developing some of these characters that they established. And Scream 6 developed the core four way better. And honestly, Gail and Kirby got some pretty good screen time too. Gail, it didn't really feel like it, but she did. And same with Kirby. And yeah, like I thought they developed all their characters well. And that was kind of something I wanted to see. Just just the core four, Gail and Kirby at least, and Gail and Kirby as well. So the core four and Gail and Kirby, at least all of them, get some decent screen time, because I wanted their characters developed. All the other new characters, they weren't developed as much. But I didn't really care, because I've even said before the movie came out, I was like, I don't really care if the new characters don't get developed as well. As long as the core four, Gail and Kirby, get some good development, that's all that matters to me. And for me, in my opinion, I think they succeeded in that. So, yep, I got to give the movie props for that. I liked seeing just Sam and Tara's relationship, how they were kind of just arguing throughout, the beginning of the film. And Tara's like, you're over here working, shitty jobs, and over here like trying to look after me and just worried about me. And, just kind of going, ham on Sam. That rhymes. And Yeah, like pretty much Tara and Sam's relationship just was pretty rocky in the beginning. You know, they weren't really on point with each other. But I liked seeing that though, just because that was something I was kind of predicting. I mean, I kind of expected to see that kind of dynamic and relationship between them. And yeah, it was great seeing that. And, I thought it was just seeing how they were dealing with their own struggles, how Tara was basically just trying to let everything go, even though she was traumatized by what happened, obviously, but she was just trying to let everything go, and live her life normally, going to parties and whatnot. Well, Sam is just trying to be like more alert because she's paranoid about what happened, of course. And yeah, I just like seeing that. And Mindy and Chad, like I said, they were great in this film. And by the way, it seems like a lot of fans are starting to like Sam, which is something I forgot to mention real quick. Is that it? Like it does seem like a lot more fans are starting to like Sam now, which is great because I liked Sam in Scream 5, and I thought she was great in that film. And some fans didn't. Of course, there was fans out there. You know, some of them that didn't like Sam in Scream 5. I thought she was good in there, but I think Sam was even better in Scream 6. Which, like I said, she was great in Scream 5, but in Scream 6, it was almost like she was even elevated more to another level. Like Sam was just like just super good in my opinion with how she was developed as a character in Scream 6. So yeah, man, I'm glad to see a lot more fans starting to appreciate Sam in Scream 6, and yeah, I mean Sam was a badass. I will say that as well. So and back to Gail, there was like I said, I kind of want to talk about her for a second, just because like Gail, pretty much whenever because I not only do I want to talk about her phone call because that was iconic, that was great, and her chase scene with Ghostface, which is awesome as well. But I also want to talk about that one scene where she's like she's with Sam and Tara, and she like they're like talking to her about her book that she wrote, and of course they end up finding out that she didn't write the book about Dewey, and she instead wrote about the book about the she wrote a book about the events of Scream 5, and basically went back on her words, even though she said she wouldn't. And Sam and Tara are kind of like confronting her about it, and Sam tries to punch Gail, and Gail is like, "Nope, I've already been through this. I expected that." Then Tara out of nowhere just like socks her in her face, and I'm like, "Yo." Basically, just of course, a mirror to Scream 2. But yeah, I thought that was just great, and I know some fans have an issue with that though, because some fans are like, "Oh, they backtracked on Gail's character development. They ruined her character. They made her go back to her old ways. That makes no sense." And here's the thing, because I've even said this before the movie came out. I've talked about this before. Whenever that one video that I made about Gail and her book, I said in that video, I was like, this does not mean she's backtracking on her character development or her character in general. Because Gail, I mean, like she's literally always kind of backtracked on her words many times. I mean, it's Gail Weathers at the end of the day. This it's like really nothing new. And another thing too is that you got to remember, she just lost Dewey. There's no Sydney around. And, she really only ever listened to Dewey, to be honest. And, like, I always felt like, to me at least, Dewey was always the one that told Gail what to do and what not to do. And it always just felt like to me that Gail, she only really ever listened to Dewey. So whenever I saw her, of course, we find out that she wrote the book still about the events of Scream 5, even though she said she wouldn't. Like, yeah, Gail's going back to her old ways and backtracking on her words, but it's not overall a backtrack on her character development. It's not, because like it makes sense. She's lost Dewey. She's only really ever listened to him, and now that he's gone, who's gonna tell her what to do? No one. And like Courtney Cox even said in an interview, that Gail wrote the book because if she didn't, someone else would. So knowing how Gail is, it makes sense. She's gonna be like, oh, I gotta grab that opportunity to write about it. That's just how Gail is, and that's not backtracking entirely on her character development, because you know she wasn't necessarily like that the whole movie, but of course she still sort of was kind of like in the beginning, and like I said, it just, to me, it makes sense that she became that, because I felt like she's only really ever listened to Dewey. And after some time that's went by, I mean, it makes sense to me that she would have ended up just backtracking on her words. It's to me, I don't have a problem with it. I know some fans, they're like, oh, they backtracked on Gail's character development, they ruined her character. I mean that I already knew some fans were gonna say that, and they're gonna have that as one of their pinpoints and nitpicks. But me personally, I don't have an issue with it. That's just me. But yeah, and even just Gail in general, she wasn't in the film as much compared to, Sam, Tara, Kirby. Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad. And I saw I forgot who it was, but someone on Twitter posted something about like screen time for characters in Scream 6. And apparently Gail had more screen time than Kirby, which I don't know if that's true, but apparently it is. I felt like Kirby was in it more than Gail, for me at least. But I still didn't mind, though. I still felt like Gail and Kirby were in it just enough for me at least. And, I liked what they had to do in the film. Gail's chasing and her phone call with with Ghostface was iconic. One, because she's never gotten a phone call by Ghostface. Two, because I don't know, like just seeing the she got a phone. Not only did she get a phone call by Ghostface, but her getting a chase scene, which was something Scream 5 also lacked, was chase scenes. Not only did it lack character development, but Scream 5 also lacked chase scenes. And that was another main issue I had with it. Like I said, I liked Scream 5, but it definitely had some issues. No doubt about that. So, yeah, it gave us a good chase scene right off the bat. I don't know if I would say, because I don't know if I compare it to the Scream 2 chase scene with Gail. I don't know if I would compare it to that. I don't know, to be honest. But it definitely was a good and intense chase scene with Gail and Ghostface. And, Ghostface was like kind of like digging at Gail and her past, and like making fun of her, and, mocking her about Dewey and all that stuff. Ghostface was just ruthless. And Roger L. Jackson killed it as Ghostface in this film. I mean, so many good one-liners by him. So yeah, just the chase scene between Gail and Ghostface was just good. Her shooting at the doors and whatnot. And then, her like I honestly, I felt like, because I said, before the movie even came out, that there is a small possibility that she could die. I mean, overall, I think she would survive, but there's still a small chance she could die. But I was feeling like, nah, she's not dying in this scene, though, because it doesn't even look like it's anywhere near the end of the film. And yeah, she didn't die in this scene. So there's that. So pretty much, but it was intense, though. It definitely was. Like, for a moment, I did think she might die, because I was like, yo, what the hell? Ghostface was just stabbing. And, you were like, yo, is Gail really gonna die here? I was like, oof. And there's another issue I'm seeing some fans point out too, is the fact that because I mean we're just gonna get into it. One of the killers, well, pretty much one of the killers, which I'll get into who it is at the end, but one of the killers is a female, and of course, if you've seen the movie, you know who I'm talking about. And apparently she's the one who is attacking Gale in this scene. And some fans are like, "Oh, how could she have thrown Gale?" Because I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was Gale's boyfriend. But like, yeah, that guy Brooks, his character like pretty much got thrown, and apparently it was that specific female Ghostface who was in this movie. She threw him through the window, his body, and some fans are like, "Oh, how could she have done that? Like, that's so unrealistic." Look, I get it. Like that specifically right there, I could understand. I get it. But at the same time, it's just like, to me, it's just like whatever. I mean, whether some things you want to look past, some things you don't. Me personally, I can look past it. I know some fans can't because they're like, no, that's just I don't buy that. Me personally, I'm just like, I don't really care. I mean, I just like, sure, was it a little bit far fetched that she literally threw Gail's boyfriend through the whole window, and a grown man like that. Sure, because I'm pretty sure it was her in that scene, and she attacked Gail as well. So yeah, sure, was it a little bit far fetched? Yeah, but at the same time, there's like, it's almost, what I find weird though and kind of strange is how this only ever really gets said whenever it's a female Ghostface killer. These complaints I barely ever see whenever it's a, like, not, of course, not all, but like some fans only ever point stuff like this out whenever it's a female Ghostface killer. And to me, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I don't really care. I can look past it. I mean, it was the same thing with Amber and Dewey in Scream 5. It was the same thing with Mrs. Loomis and Randy. Same thing with Joe in Scream 4. And it's like, to me, it's like, I don't really care. But yeah, I can look past that. Gail almost, dies. Sam saves the day, shoots Ghostface. He escapes. And yeah, and then there's just some brutal, gory kills in this film. Like this badass scene with Ghostface with the shotgun, which we see in the trailer. This scene was just great. The bodega, I thought that was good. Just seeing Ghostface run around with a shotgun. He's basically chasing Sam and Tara leading into the store, and then he gets in there, and one of the, he stabs one of the guys that we see in the trailer, and the store owner tries to shoot him with the gun, of course, and he takes it away. Then he shoots him with it. And yeah, I thought that whole scene was great, and it was kind of intense too. I mean, I kind of figured Sam and Tara wouldn't die in that scene, but it was great just seeing that, like, I was just like, yo, this scene is actually intense. It was great, and it was pretty good to me. So yeah, I thought it was just great, and just seeing Ghostface breathing so hard and heavily like Michael Myers, like the mask too, of course, just looking like Michael Myers. So I mean, this film was, it has some pretty good kills, and yeah, I thought the what do you call it? I want to talk about like the meta commentary in Scream 6. Kind of talk about that. There wasn't really much of it. I mean, there's this one scene where Mindy's talking about, sequels of requels, and how, franchises, it gets bigger, and There's like all more stakes, and anyone can die, and all this. And there's at least quite a bit of fans that I'm seeing that are like, this scene is just like, this scene with Mindy trying to explain the rules. It just doesn't feel right. It feels weird, which I kind of agree. It does feel a little bit forced with Mindy, where she was explaining the rules, you know, to movies and stuff like that, with requel sequels and whatnot with Scream 6. But at the same time, though, it makes sense because the directors, even before the movie came out, I remember I even covered it. They basically said that Scream 6, they weren't trying to focus on the meta commentary as much in Scream 6. So I think that's why in Scream 6, the meta commentary probably didn't hit as much, was because it wasn't really that big of a focus compared to a lot of the other Scream movies in this franchise. So I think that's probably why it felt a little bit forced to, some of the fans that I've seen, that have said that. They pretty much they said that, like Scream 6, it feels forced and this and that. I think that's probably why. It's just because it pretty much, the meta commentary was toned down. It wasn't really focused on that. It was more focused, if anything, on, pretty much kind of like the social commentary and conspiracy angle that I talked about before the movie even came out. I kind of predicted it a little bit, with just the fact that, like the killers in the film were they started this rumor online about Sam being a killer and this and that. Like she framed Richie and Amber, and she's the one who was actually the killer in Scream 5, and she's a killer and all this and that. And, they try to paint her in this bad light and this bad image of her. So the killers, they did that. And that was like a good angle and social commentary on just conspiracy theories, and kind of like, like almost a little bit like on cancel culture and stuff like that, So that kind of social commentary, I thought, was like really more heavy handed in this film. And I liked it, and I thought it was great. So yeah, like the killers were doing that. And even there was something that kind of led as a hint to one of the motives in Scream 6, was, Sam getting a phone call by one of the killers, and it had Richie's phone number, or yeah, his phone number, his name. And, it kind of led to a hint there, just right there, on what the motive would be. And one of the killers, I definitely guessed. Because I even predicted it before the movie came out. Dermot Mulroney, Detective Bailey's character. I predicted his character would be the killer. I mean, even before the movie came out, I felt like he was going to be the killer or be some kind of mastermind. And he was. He was one of the killers. And I got him right. The other two killers, however, which there's three killers. And I really like that about this film. There was three killers. I did not really guess Ethan and Quinn for some reason. But Detective Bailey, I already knew it was him even before the movie came out. And even while I was watching the film, just seeing some of the interactions with him and Kirby, I kind of already knew he was the killer. I was like, yeah, he's the killer. So, yeah, Dermot Mulroney, his character, Detective Bailey, I just knew he was the killer. What I did find kind of weird, though, is how in the film, because, obviously, because, Detective Bailey and his kids, Ethan and Quinn, they're all family relatives and related to Richie, which is why the phone call and the phone number came to Sam's phone was coming from Richie's number, because it was her family that was calling her. And I was kind of I'm still kind of wondering it. I mean, I don't know if some of you can probably explain it to me in the comments if you're watching this. How Detective Bailey never got, you know, like somehow no one found out that he was the father of Richie. I feel like since he's a detective, that probably would have came up at some point. That he was, Richie's father, and even Kirby talked about, like how she's investigating Ghostface attacks and whatnot, and somehow like I felt like she probably could have found that out too. I mean, I thought that was just a little bit odd. Like I was just like, how did no one find out that Detective Bailey was Richie's father? Like that's just a little bit strange to me. And even Quinn, she had this scene where she was like, "Oh, my brother died," and all that. And I was like, like, I mean, I didn't question it that heavily, but I was still a little suspicious on her. I didn't, but I thought the murder mystery in this film was pretty good because, like I said, I didn't really guess Ethan or Quinn. Detective Bailey, though, I hit the nail on the head with that one. But Quinn and Ethan, though, I just did not expect it. And honestly, when it came to three killers in this movie in general, I did not really expect that either. I thought, I mean, I'm not saying I expected two killers because I wanted three killers or at least more. But for some reason, I was feeling like, I don't know, they might still go the two killer route, but they didn't. So I'm glad for that. But Ethan and Quinn, I mean, there wasn't that much screen time with them, but they were still great as characters. So I'm that's I don't really mind that. But yeah, I just thought Ethan and Quinn, they weren't obvious to me, but Detective Bailey was, especially in that one scene where he's talking to Sam. He's like, anyone who kills a family of mine dies and whatnot. And I'm just like, yo, wait, what? I was like, okay. He was just making himself look more and more suspicious throughout the whole film to me. So, yeah, I just thought Detective Bailey was just strange. Another thing, too, is that, like, Detective Bailey was pretty much like, I don't know. He was just, to me, he was like suspicious. And they tried to make Kirby even a red herring throughout the film. But even I was kind of like, nah. I mean, they kind of went that angle, but I just didn't really believe it. But I might have to end it here because for some reason something's going wrong with the screen record. So I might have to come back and finish this review. So, yeah, my bad, guys. Hold on.